Hi, good morning everyone. In this video, we will be discussing question number 31 to 40. So, in the previous three videos, I have discussed 1 to 10, 11 to 20, and 21 to 30. Now, this one will be question number 31 to 40. So, question number 31 says that what is the significance of Section 3 of Foreign Trade Development and Regulation Act 1992? Recently, it is in news because of this one. Focus on Section 3 of so based on this one, the ban on export of paracetamol API has been lifted by the government. So it is in news related to Section 3 of Foreign Trade Act 1992. It is in news related to paracetamol actually. Paracetamol API exports have been previously banned. That means there are some restrictions on the export of this thing, and that has been lifted by the government. So that's why this is in news. Again, I'm repeating, recently Section 3 of Foreign Trade Act 1992 is in news. So why it is in news? Because on the basis of Section 3 of this act only, the ban has been lifted by the government. Now, after 31, let's move on to 32. What is part B of budget speech? Now, whenever the finance minister gives his budget speech, his or her budget speech, so budget speech is of two parts. Part A will be there in the budget speech and part B will be there. For example, they want to make some policies related to industry or modify any policy related to employment. So all policy matters. So in part A of the budget speech, they will discuss all policy matters, and part B is exclusively related to tax structure. For example, if they want to introduce any tax, for example, there is a possibility of introducing Tobin tax in India. So if they really want to introduce Tobin tax in India, they have to propose it in part B of the budget speech. For example, GST is there. If they introduce GST, then they have to mention it in part B of the budget speech only. So anything related to tax structure is a part of part B of budget speech, and part A of the budget speech deals with the policy matters, and part A plus part B collectively known as annual financial statement. So part A plus part B is annual financial statement. Now this is related to tax structure. So this is annual financial act actually. So as a whole, the concept is related to budget, annual financial act. Part A of the budget speech deals with policy matters. Part B of the budget speech deals with tax modification. So that is question number 32. 32, what is part B of the budget speech? Part B deals with tax structure. 33, part A of the budget speech. So all policy matters, all policy changes, new policies, everything will be there in part A of the budget speech. Next, question number 34. In how many states in India are under participatory budgeting? Now, participatory budgeting means it is a part of direct democracy actually. Direct democracy has four pillars actually: plebiscite, referendum, recall, and initiative. And this participatory budgeting is a part of initiative actually. People will take initiative, and the initiative is again of two types: formulative initiative and unformulative initiative. So let me explain this thing in detail. So the next question is related to how many states are following participatory budgeting. So for this question, answer is only one municipal corporation is there in India which is under participatory budgeting, that is Pune Municipal Corporation. That is the only district in India which is under participating budgeting. At present, there are more than 350 districts around the world which are under participatory budgeting, and the maximum contribution is from Brazil. So I'll start with step by step. Participatory budgeting is a part of initiative taken by the people. Initiative is a part of direct democracy, and initiative is again of two types: formulative initiative unformulative initiative, which means that, for example, take a particular area or a particular street. In that street, the people will form a group or register themselves, and they'll conduct elections, they'll choose people, and after choosing their leader, they'll approach local administration. That means they'll approach their local municipality or municipal corporation or Nagarpalika, they'll approach and they'll put their requirements in the form of a document. If they are putting their requirements in the form of a fully prepared document, then it is formulative. If they are telling it or explaining it orally, then it is unformulative. So whether it is formulative or unformulative, their requirements will be depending on some budget. So the government is going to allot certain budget to them. Now that is participatory budgeting. So people will take care of their requirements themselves. Now, which is there in Pune Municipal Corporation actually. In Pune Municipal Corporation, Municipal Corporation, wards will be there, and each ward is taking the responsibility of participatory budgeting, and the wards are known as prabhags. So each prabhag is responsible for its own maintenance and everything. For example, in that prabhag street lights, in that prabhag roads, in that prabhag drainage. So all these matters will be under the control of their the local people only. So that is participatory budgeting. Again, I am repeating, participatory budgeting in India, we can find it in Pune Municipal Corporation only. It is a part of initiative. Initiative is a part of direct democracy. Initiative is again of two types: formulative initiative and unformulative initiative. If the drafting is made and the procedures are followed, then it is formulative. If the representation is through orally, then it is unformulative. Now, we can call it mother of participatory budgeting is nothing but Brazil, in which we have Porto Alegre. So here the participatory budgeting has begun initially. Now this is during 1980s actually. So from 1980s to till date, Brazil is having more number of participating budget districts than any other country in the world. In Indian context, in Pune Municipal Corporation only, we have this participatory budgeting. And the next question is related to what is gender-based budgeting. Gender-based budgeting means it is not a separate budget dedicated to women actually. The name appears that the name misguides actually. If you go through the name gender-based budgeting, it will misguide you. For example, 2019-20 budget is there. And in that budget, if you are going to analyze how much is allotted to men and how much is allotted to women, then it is called gender budgeting. Now, gender-based budgeting does not mean that exclusively designed for women actually. So that is gender based budgeting. And what is zero based natural farming? In another context, I have explained you what is zero budget natural farming. So the father of zero budget natural farming is Manasobu Fukuoka, and he's a Japanese. You can call him as a farmer. I gave him so many names in this session itself. So this is already done. And 37th one is related to integrated farm systems. So in UPSC 2020 point of view, in particularly when it comes to mains, integrated pest management is important. Integrated farm systems also important. Integrated farm system means, for example, this is a piece of land, and this piece of land itself, number of agricultural activities will be done. For example, this particular part of land will be separated, and they will maintain a small, you can call it as a water reservoir or something like that, or a tank. In this tank they'll go for fishery. So one part is done. So on this they'll go for, they'll make a hut on this one or shed on this one and go for poultry. So whatever the shit is there from hens or ducks, it will be the food for these fishes. So two activities are done in the same piece of land. So fishery is done and poultry is done. So in this area they'll plant trees. So third one, horticulture part is done now. For each plant they'll put a cow or buffalo. So dairy part is done now. And this is regular agriculture area. Here they can go for multiple cropping. Again in this area they can go for piggery. And whatever the cow dung is there, it can be used for biofuel, as a fertilizer. Cow urine can be used in organic farming. So in the same piece of land they are doing so many activities. That is called integrated farm systems. So one farm system is linked with another farm system. This is a very important concept with respect to UPSC 2020 mains actually. I am moving on to 38 questions. How many popular varieties of Pashmina goats are there? Now, this is very important because we have Article 370, Ladakh concept and Leh concept. So, in this region only we can find these Pashmina shawls actually, Kashmiri shawls. So, for Kashmiri shawls you need these goats. These goats are Malra, Chegu, Changara, and the fourth one is Changtangi. So four varieties are there. Marla variety of goat, Chegu variety of goat, Changara variety of goat, Changtangi variety of goat. So these goats are whatever the raw material requirement is there. These goats, Pashmina goats, are playing major role in Kashmiri shawls actually. So try to by heart these names, as Article 370, Ladakh, Leh, Jammu and Kashmir Union Territory concept is there. So there is a possibility of these kind of questions in this preliminary exam. And question number 39. What is the significance of Babar region in Himalayas, which is highly fertile? More business activities related to Uttarakhand will be there only, as there are highly fertile lands, more agricultural activities. So it's a very simple question. And the 40th one is why Odisha coast is more prone to cyclone. Now I have framed this question on the basis of Amphen actually. Now, when you compare the west coast and the east coast is more wet part when compared to west part. That is one reason. And the second reason is Odisha coast will always be having very low pressure zones. Very low pressure zone means highly attractive for cyclones. So that is the second reason. And the third reason is, on the other hand, on western part you have Western Ghats actually. So it will be a big wall for the cyclone. So three reasons. First reason is east is more wet than west part. East coast is more wetter than west coast. And the second reason is Odisha is having more low pressure zone. And the third reason is Western Ghats. So by this I have done with 40 questions. 40th is also done. So in this video I tried to complete 31 to 40 questions actually. So I'm repeating again. 31st section 3 of Foreign Trade Act deals with paracetamol API ban, and ban is released actually. Ban is now there is no ban. The government has lifted the ban. Now part B of the budget speech deals with tax structure, part A of the budget speech deals with policy matters and participatory budgeting, Brazil, Port Telegram. I have explained everything, and it's a part of initiative. And what is gender based budgeting? It is nowhere related to exclusively women. If after the completion of budget, if the percentages are calculated with respect to gender, then it is gender based budgeting. Next, what is zero based natural farming? Already I have explained you. And integrated farm systems, and varieties of Pashmina goats, and Babar region on the foothills of the Himalayas, and why Odisha coast is more prone to cyclones. I have explained all the 10 questions. Thank you.